since you are a younger age group, you are closer to the girls of a similar age.
Yeah.
What kind of issues do you see in our community?
Oof. Definitely like you said, like relationships before marriage and stuff like that. Very like sort of people who don't understand, like people they try to normalize like what other people are doing, sort of like relationships and like dating and like even just like being like sexually active without it like labeling it as a relationship, and they're like, oh, it's okay because we're not like dating, but it's like you're still doing stuff that like and stuff like that. And then obviously like giving into like alcohol and drugs and stuff like that, like we like vaping so big in my shit. And like I guess like relationships is like one of the biggest things because it's so normal now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you think the parents are still oblivious to all these things?
very much. Yes. Yeah.
And they like staying asleep and they really
Yeah,
don't know
I feel
what's
like
going on.
parents, they tend to like, even if someone is gonna go up to their like the parents of whoever's like doing whatever and saying like, hey, your kid is not following the right path, like maybe you should try and like talk to them, they're gonna like deny it, and they're not gonna like, they're gonna be in denial like, oh no, my kid is okay, I raised them fine. And so like even if they're presented with the opportunity to like teach their kids about whatever they're doing that's wrong, like they're still gonna be like, no, it's okay, because they just like don't want to have that talk, I guess.
That makes them uncomfortable, and
Exactly.
yeah, we want to live in denial rather than
Hmm.
face the reality and do
Yeah,
something about it. Why
exactly.
do you think that parents assume that my child is going to be okay and my child is never going to fall into a sin or a mistake, something like that?
Exactly. They
Why
definitely
do you think
do that.
that's
Well,
going on?
I guess it also has to do with like the way that the parents grew up themselves. Like you said, like you didn't have to deal with like dating and stuff like that back in Pakistan because like it wasn't like normalized, and like you didn't have, it was like hidden sort of. And so like I guess if the parents grew up and knowing like them as themselves are okay, they probably think their kids are okay too. But also it has to do with like the way they view themselves. Like if they know that their kid is doing something wrong, they're not going to feel good about themselves. They're going to be like, oh, I probably messed up on my end. And obviously like, nobody wants to feel bad about themselves. Like that's a feeling that we try not to, and it's okay, like it happens, like there's certain mistakes that happen. It's not completely like the parents' fault entirely, but like I guess like they feel as though it is, and so they're the ones who are like avoiding the topic because of that.
Do you
Yeah.
think that society plays a role in there because we don't want to be seen as bad people?
Hmm.
Our reputation is way more important than our health. Sometimes our reputation is way more important than our child's health and mental health and all that. So we really don't want, we kind of push things under the rug. We don't want to, we don't want others to see the reality, and we don't want ourselves to see the reality. So we're kind of like closing eyes,
Exactly.
putting our heads under the hole, and we don't want to really see and face the facts because, yeah, then you'll
Yeah,
have to
it's not fun.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
knowing you know you made a mistake, it's definitely like we're human beings. Like we're made to make mistakes, but we're also made to like not, yeah, it's like it's embarrassing, I guess. It's humiliating to make a mistake and know that you made a mistake. So,
Yeah, I understand that, but what should we do to change that? Because the youth is suffering, you
mhm,
know. I mean, I've been in US for 20 years, and even though I grew up in Pakistan, most part of my life I was there. My education was there. I got married there. But being in US for 20 years has changed me a lot, right? It changed my way of thinking, changed my ways of parenting, changed my ways with how to deal with adults around us and how to deal with the kids around us. And alhamdulillah, for being in a field where I have always been interacting with kids, have taught me a lot. Uh,
mhm.
you know, Working in public schools have taught me a lot. What kind of environment our kids are in, and to understand that having to go through all of that and then keeping ourselves on a straight path is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a
Is a big,
lot.
yeah. And then that helped me with, the big thing that changed me was the parenting style. then if I can think so, if I can feel and I can learn and I can grow and I can unlearn all the nonsense I had been through, you know, or what I gained from, which is not going to work. I know that with my kids, the way I was raised, it's not going to work with my kids. Why do you think other parents still want to hold on to the traditional ways? And there's nothing wrong with being traditional, but it's the 100% being traditional, like being so firm on it that you can't learn, or you can't, you're not flexible at all.
Exactly.
Well, how do we change that?
I feel like communication is like a really big thing, like getting your parents to realize that, like, hey, the life that I'm living is very, very different than the life that you're living. And like, this is like the ground, I guess, like knowing what each person wants, like knowing what your parents look for in you and knowing what you look for in your parents sort of is a good way. So like communication is a big thing in that. And like, just like sitting down and talking to them and like having them understand what you're going through, because sometimes, like, obviously, like you said, like it's very different, life is very different here, and like you were able to change, but some people don't have for some people it's like hard to change, whether it be the kid or whether it be the parent. Like it's hard to go through change, and some people don't like change, which is like kind of sad to think about. But like it, you know, some people, again, like you said, like they're not flexible, they don't have that like flexibility in their mindsets and in their lifestyle that like they can change for their kids and stuff. So I feel like talking about it and actually like putting the idea in their mind is like the first step to moving closer to like change.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. It's interesting that, you know, we are of two different age groups, and I can bring the parents' perspective and you can bring the youth's.
It is, yeah.
And can hopefully the podcast is going to help both sides. Inshallah.
Hopefully.